Hello. In this video, what I want to do is to talk about how to do calculations with scientific notation. And the focus here is not so much doing it by hand, but rather how you can use a scientific calculator to do it. Because that's how a lot of times people do it in reality, but just as importantly, a lot of times people have trouble doing it right. Okay? And so over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over how you might want to do it using the Texas Instrument TI-30X2S calculator. Okay, this TI-30X2S calculator over here is a pretty standard calculator. You could probably get it from most places that sell these things, you know, big grocery stores or stationers, etc. It's in the 10 to 15 range, at least as of 2024. You can use any non-graphing scientific calculator. Most of them, I would talk to your instructor if you're not sure. If you're allowed, make sure you check out your course materials. But in general, the general principles hold. However, details are going to be different between different scientific calculators. So it's important that you practice with your scientific calculator and make sure that you know how to use it before the exam or quizzes. Okay? And we will look at how to punch in numbers using this. The other thing is that particularly if you have a different type of calculator and you need help, okay, please either contact your instructor or contact the Math Science Resource Center for help. Okay. So a few things I want to point out over here in terms of how to use this calculator. Now, you notice here that it says 3.234469136 to the negative 1. That's not what it actually means. It doesn't mean 1 divided by 3.23 blah, 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 blah. It actually means that this minus 1 here is crazy shorthand for times 10 to the minus 1. So the actual number, okay, that we're dealing with over here is actually 3.2345 times 10 to the minus 1. So what was hidden is this times 10 to the part was hidden. It is important that you realize that that is not there. Okay? There's another piece that you need to know, and that is most of these functions on this particular calculator is accessed via the second key. So basically anything over here that you see, okay, that is in blue text over here, you access by first pressing the second button over here and then pressing whatever button you need. And to enter a number in scientific notation, you use the EE button. So that's the EE button over here. And when you press that, it's shorthand for times 10 to the something. Last but not least, there is a button that allows you to convert between different modes. And you do that by pressing second and then selecting the SciEng button over here. Okay? Again, different calculators are going to have slight differences, some more major than others. It is important that you are aware of how to use your calculator. So let's start by looking at how we might enter numbers in scientific notation. So over here, the first one over here, I have 1.5 times 10 to the minus 1. Okay? So to enter that into here, I would go 1.5, and I would go second and then EE over here, minus 1. If I press this enter, it enters it in. In this case, it was set so that it would show it back in decimal notation. So this is actually one way you can convert. If I want to force this to show in scientific notation, I can go press second, SciEng, and then select Sci. Okay. Now you see over here that it says 1.5 times 10 to the minus 1. Okay? I'm going to put it back on the original mode. So I put it back on float mode. The second number we can do is again similar. I will do this 1.602 second e, and this is minus, right? So minus 10 to minus 19, because that e here is shorthand for times 10 to the. And as I said before, this would show over here. In this type, it shows that minus 10 in tiny, tiny writing. So really, you have to realize that minus 19 is, there's a times 10 to the buried here. That's why it's important to know how to use your specific calculator. Last of these is going to be the same sort of thing, except I have a positive exponent. So I have 6.022 e, and I don't need a plus. That's defaulted, so that's 23. So that's how I entered in scientific notation. The next thing I want to do is to look at how you might do calculations using scientific notation. And this is the one part, okay, where you'll see in a bit that if you do not use scientific notation properly on a calculator, it's quite likely to cause you difficulties with actually doing the calculations. So let's have a look at the first one. 1.5 times 10 to the 6 plus 4.3 times 10 to the 5. So what I want to do over here, I'm going to clear this out. Press the clear button over here, and then I would do 1.5 second e, so I get an e here, 6, and then I'm going to add, right, plus 4.3, again, e, 5. I press the enter equal sign over here, I get 1930000. Fine. But if I need it in scientific notation and I'm getting lazy, I'll go second, sci-eng, I'll go select sci. I see now that it is 1.93 times 10 to the minus 6. No, not 10 to the minus 6, 10 to the plus 6. Okay, that's the first one. The second one over here, okay, is 6.022 times 10 to the 23 times 3.14. 6.022 second e 23 times 3.14. By the way, this mode of calculating, what it actually does is that if you look at this, when it's treating that whatever e whatever, so whatever times 10 to the whatever, as a single number. So it doesn't break it apart and therefore make it look like you're trying to multiply 23 by 3.14. So if I do this, I punch it in the calculator, I get 1.89 times 10 to the 24. Okay? Now the last one's a little bit trickier. No, and this is where a little bit of the order of operations matters, because you see here that we have an addition here on top of the fraction. Now you have to remember, everything on top of the fraction is treated as though it has a parentheses around it. So we're going to have to put parentheses in our calculator to make sure we get it right. So I'm going to clear this out again, and I'm going to open the brackets as 6.311 second E8 plus 2 second E7. I'm going to close the brackets. Now with this sort of calculator, you don't need to press the enter yet. You can actually just carry on. Or you can press enter, it doesn't matter too much. Divided by 4.311 second E6. And I get here that it is 1.51 times 10 to the 2. Oops. Or 151. Okay? So again, this is something that would take practice. I encourage you all to practice and ask for help if you need it.